The Putco Bus strike is continuing with no end in sight. The company also issued notices with intention to dismiss the striking workers, while at the same time the workers are vowing to intensify the strike. Let's get the latest now on what exactly is going on there. We are joined in studio by Madumo from the Tirisano Transport and Services Workers Union, and we'll also be joined during this conversation by PUTCO Spokesperson Lindokuhle, who will be joining us a little later on as we discuss. Thank you so much for your time, Soli. Let's start with the latest, because we saw quite a lot, happening even this morning. The notices are still up in the air. The company saying that some people have made some submissions. They're considering those. But there is also, of course, that court process that you're still waiting for. So where are we now with the strike?
Currently, thank you to you and your viewers as well. Like you said, currently the matter is before the Labour Court, to be precise. And just the long and short of it is that it started after having had concluded the agreement at the Central Bargaining Forum, which regulates the bus industry. PUTCO filed an exemption notice. Basically, they wanted that they should be relieved of 3 clauses in it, meaning that they did not want to comply with the minimums, the across-the-board increase and the bonuses, which is what is happening in the bus industry, which is a regular thing that has been happening for quite some time, more than 20 years. So just to cut the long story short is that PUTCO did that, and then it went to the exemption board, and the exemption board at the initial stage said that the PUTCO should pay 3%, and they exonerated them from paying the bonus. But we as unions, we were not satisfied with that, and we appealed against that at the appeal board. And the appeal board indeed came back and agreed with our assertion that, and our belief that PUTCO is capable of paying. And remember, when you go to the exemption board, you produce your finances and all that. And when we went and we deliberated, we went through an extensive process. So at the ultimate end, it was ruled in organized labor's favor that PUTCO should pay 6% bonus, 6% increase and bonuses. Cognizance should be taken to the fact that PUTCO has been doing this. It's not for the first time. And they are the major negotiator. They are one of the major employers in the bus industry. They are having too many employees. Too many employees and all that. And they are signatories to that very same agreement. So one would say, and your viewers will make an inference that if you are to negotiate, and having had negotiated, and you are the central role player, and then afterwards you go and apply for exemption, year in, year out, it doesn't go well with the Central Bargaining Forum. So
you're saying they're negotiating in bad faith?
Yes, okay. Primarily that's what they are doing.
Lindokuhle is now joining us for this conversation. Welcome, Lindokuhle. What Soli and I were talking about was that where do things stand now? And he was taking us back to the fact that PUTCO is reneging on an agreement that had been negotiated with everybody else and is a signatory to that, and now they're looking for exemptions, which for them and their members signals bad faith. How do you respond to this?
Look, I think he's right in saying that initially it was PUTCO who applied for an exemption. That exemption was to say we're coming from COVID-19. It was a difficult time for many industries, including the bus sector. Ourselves, we were not spared from that. But I would like to say that they themselves had appealed the decision after it was granted to us that we would only pay 3% and no bonuses. They went back to the bargaining council. They appealed that decision successfully. And that is why we find ourselves here today. But I want to just go back a step back in terms of saying they exercise their right to go and appeal a decision that was taken by, the bargaining council. So when PUTCO exercises its right to have this matter reviewed by a labour court, how is it negotiating in bad faith? Because those are processes that are there, labour laws are there to guide us all in terms of how we should move forward. So this is another matter where we as PUTCO are exercising our right to say that there's 2 decisions that came from the bargaining council. Perhaps the labour court would then give direction in terms of a review of this matter.
Are you denying the employer the right to exercise their right?
We are not. And let me set an example which my brother here will not tell you. They are having subcontractors in their midst. for them to continue to sustain the BEE contracts that they are currently enjoying. And in so doing, their subcontractors were also affected by the very same COVID. But as we speak currently, their subcontractors have complied holistically.
So you're saying they've got the money?
Yes, they've got the money. And subsequent to that, you heard his reason. He's saying they are citing COVID-19. COVID-19 was not unique to them. Various other bus companies.
Did we have another COVID-19 somewhere?
No, I'm not saying it is not that only PUTCO that was in that predicament. There were various other bus companies, but we are organizing within the industry.
All right.
And there are not even, other bus companies have complied irrespective of their balance sheet and their cash flow issues.
I don't have a lot of time with this conversation.
Yes.
I wish I did. I was going to ask us just to flesh this out because there's quite a lot of questions I have on this very part alone. But let's go to where the company is now, because there have been intentions, notices with the intention to dismiss that have been submitted. Lindokuhle said to us yesterday that some, of the workers had in fact made representations and trying to argue why they should not be fired. But also at the same time, you're reading some, reports and even on our very own channel, speaking to some of the striking workers, vowing to intensify the strike should others be, fired. Is this the position of the union, that you'll intensify the strike and also make it difficult for those who are choosing to continue with work?
No. On the 1st of September, they invited us to make representation. No, before then. On the 1st of September, when this was brought to our attention, we voluntarily, as individual unions that are organizing in PUTCO, addressed PUTCO and said to PUTCO, look, it has been brought to our attention that our members have decided to go on a strike without us sanctioning that particular strike. Be that as it may, we do not condone that particular behavior and so forth. And secondary to that...
So you've lost control?
Yes.
You've lost control?
We are not.
Okay.
Let me finish. We did not sanction that strike. And secondary to that, ensure that those that want to go to work, they are safeguarded, because it is their obligation as the employer to safeguard. They did not even take an effort just to acknowledge our correspondences. Fast forward to that, this previous Monday, we also went to their head office and met with their executives and tried to harness and find a common ground as to how do we settle this and this impasse. But the long and short, maybe, in
I just need him to respond quickly.
The long and short in responding to you is that in the midst of all this, I think there's a trust deficit between employees and the company, which has been created by them, because there should be industrial relations that are sound between the employees and their management. Us as unions, we can also advise members and do whatever that the law prescribes, but there's this much that we can do. But we are not condoning what is happening currently.
Lindo, are you failing to protect those that are choosing to go back to work? At the same time, did you ignore the calls by the union to be able to avert what we are seeing right now? How much responsibility does the company take?
Gosh, I have a lot to say, because there's a lot to respond to.
Make it very brief.
I'm going to start with the fact that he says there seems to be a disposition with the employer. They are having an unprotected strike. Their members have shown them to say that you're not helping us, therefore we're going to do it ourselves. So it's rich coming from him to say that, in fact, there's a breakdown in communication when they themselves could not speak to their members. But in terms of whether we failed or not to communicate with workers, no. There are notices dated as early as April this year to speak about the company's decision to actually undertake this labor court proceeding. So that has been communicated to them. It's been communicated to the workers themselves through the notice boards, where they get all the information, and through our international relations office. But I must say, in terms of what he is saying about a sit down and all of that, they came there with demands. Remember, PUTCO is not obligated to pay anything until the labor court decides whether we should or not. So nothing is owed at this stage until a decision is made. But they came there to negotiate. Lo and behold, the company decided that in the interest of the 150,000 commuters that are left stranded, we are going to offer them, unobligatedly so, a 3% back pay for that year, They refused that. What we woke up to on Tuesday was the banning of tires and all sorts of things that are happening. We've protected our workers. There is not even one worker that has been injured during this process. So that answers exactly what he says when he says we failed to protect workers. I'm going
to come back to you, Soli, in just a moment. You talk about the commuters,
There's developments that I would like to share as well in terms of the situation. We have finalized our process in terms of the notices to initiate dismissals. There are a lot of people that, in fact, provided representatives. About 400 did this individually out of the approximately 1,000. And in fact, about those that about 900 it ultimately have contributed through unions. So it's like 400, and then when you get to 900, it's those ones that used unions to actually contribute. So we have finalized to say that there is considerations that have been made. We can finally say that the people that are going to part ways with PUTCO is 105 right now. But at the same time, we must say that there are still people that are on strike that are not part of this list of 105. And disciplinary action will take place. Further disciplinary action will take place in terms of those
105 may rise. Before I come back to you, Soli, you talk about commuters. This bickering doesn't help them.
Not at all.
The strike doesn't help them because ultimately they've paid for monthly tickets, some of them, and they now have to dig deeper into their pockets. They're already facing difficult situations. What is PUTCO going to do to try and mitigate this so that these monthly tickets do not go to waste should the strike continue beyond what we are saying?
I must say, in terms of the bickering, it does not help, and I'm surprised that it's mushrooming now that this thing is an issue of media houses, because earlier on, the unions themselves had pronounced to say that they are not part of this strike. This is an unled strike, and they distanced themselves away from the strike. Today we went to court. The court ordered them to act responsibly and write a statement to say they distanced themselves away from this particular protest. Be that as it may, what we are expecting unions is to act responsibly, because this shows bickering when we could have shared information about how commuters would be commuting, about how we are trying to resume our processes and our services on Monday. But we can't get to that because they want to tit for tat talk about things that are not necessarily showing responsibility as far as they are concerned.
Let me respond to and react to what he's saying. Firstly, it is a misrepresentation that we went to do to negotiate with them on this previous Monday, because we are aware that substantive issues are
back and forth. We're not talking about the commuter.
Can we allow him to just finish though, Lindo?
Like I was saying, we did not go there to go and negotiate, because we are aware that substantive issues are being negotiated at the Central Bargaining Forum. And there's a standing collective agreement which is being promulgated currently. So what will be the reason to go and negotiate? But be that as
what will you there to do?
Can you ask the gentleman to exercise restraint, because I did not interrupt while he was we were on national TV. We wanted to, and we engaged extensively with management, and there's nothing in law, if he's not aware, that even if the matter it is before any other adjudicatory body, like Labour Court or CCMA or wherever, there's nothing that prohibits parties to can engage and try to get a common ground. So primarily on Monday, we wanted to get that. But we were just met with extensive arrogance when the company did not want to hear any of that. So, but let me address the issue of...
Almost out of time. Just before you do that, there's something I want you to respond to just before you go. Watching the reports today and also reading some of it online, some of the striking workers are saying that this situation will be worse than Marikana. Is this the position of the unions?
No, that's not our position.
And what do you say to them then when they say something like this?
Even yesterday, even day before yesterday, I left Roseville Depot the day before yesterday around 9:30 in the evening, addressing workers and trying to talk to them and all that. And even yesterday, we were with some of them and so forth in Pretoria, and my other colleagues were in Johannesburg, trying to talk to their workers. But there's only this much that we can do, because physically we cannot take people and make them to go and work. Despite that, we are a labor union, which our primary objective is to safeguard jobs and to operate within the premise of the law. So if and when people are digressing from that, we'll always advise them about that. But a food for thought is that these very same workers are from the communities. The very same people that they are loading, they are staying with them. Now, your viewers will make an inference as to if you find people being prepared to go to whatever lengths, including breaking the law and so forth, because they want what is due to them, then it says something about industrial relations, which it's also pointing fingers to PUTCO to mend those relations with their employees. They can fire and hire and all that, but if the relations are not good, it will be a recurring cycle where employees come, do this and that and that. And we always advise our members.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I would like to ask, that maybe at some point we need to continue with this discussion, because even beyond the strike, there's so many issues that are coming out here which are continuing to bubble under, and we've seen them before at PUTCO. But let me thank you both for your time.
But in conclusion, we are saying...
Unfortunately, we're out of time. I wish I could give you time, Abutsoli. That was PUTCO spokesperson Lindokuhle Xulu and Madumo from the Tirisano Transport and Services Workers Union.